Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, I'm John, this is Many a True Nerd, and welcome back to Fallout 3 You Only Live Once, the second part of this week's double bill, basically exclusively to troll people and make people terrified that I died in the arena. I didn't, I survived the arena, and even better, I was able to prove that my understanding of how this game calculates endurance and rad resistance and minor radiation poisoning was in fact correct, because even though we are now suffering from minor radiation poisoning, I haven't actually lost any health as a result. We still have 550 max health, and that means we are now, thanks to that level up, at 83 out of 550. Still very, very dangerous, but better than we were, especially with the arena done. Now, we are now going to head into Uptown and go and visit Haven and meet the guy who's running this whole place, Asher. For the moment, at least, we should be pretty safe, but this part is not without danger of its own too. I need to be a little bit careful. I definitely can't let my guard down anyway. Hello, Hammer.
You can go past.
Oh, that's very kind of you. I think I'll just head straight through into Uptown through this door here. Though now there is nothing to stop you accessing all the upstairs bits in the pit now, like these little kind of storerooms and stuff. I find this very odd, by the way, which is if you kind of head upstairs into the storeroom, that's actually, you know, behind the locked door that you can't get to when you're a slave. You can only get here once you're a master. It's kind of odd that you will find actual, you know, slaves up here. There are actual slaves, pit slaves, upstairs in this bit of the level that, you know, people aren't supposed to be able to get to. It's very odd, and I don't know why these guys are here. They strike me as they really shouldn't be here, but they sort of just are anyway, so you know, whatever. These guys have literally no barrier between themselves and Uptown. In fact, they could just walk straight up to Haven. And sure, there are guys with guns between here and there, but it's odd that they're allowed up there. But when you're a slave, that door's locked forever and you're not allowed up there. So, all very odd. Anyway, this door here leads out to Uptown. And with our newfound freedom, we are able to go into what's supposedly like, you know, the nice Uptown bit of this area. This area is completely safe right now, and it's a good kind of source of looting. So the only thing to be careful of is either you can take the high route, which obviously like has, you know, a very minor risk theoretically of falling and dying, or the low route, which has some radioactive puddles, but to be honest, you know, they're pretty easily avoided. Those barrels aren't radioactive barrels, they're just normal barrels. Just kind of stay out of the water. You can kind of see that there's kind of a bunch of slavers hanging around, but I'm now free. I'm kind of, you know, one of them. They don't care about me anymore. So you can basically just completely ignore these guys. As I say, just jump over everything. I'd say the low route's easier than kind of going up and around. There's like a couple of people you can speak to, but none of them give you anything particularly interesting. So personally, I don't think it's very worthwhile. Head straight over to this very impressive, massive lit up skyscraper and the really rather good little sculpture. I like the sculpture. The sculpture is very cool. Though don't be looking up at the skyscraper so much that you accidentally fall into the pit of the radioactive goo. The sculpture is very cool. It's one of my favourite little bits of artwork. The little kind of, yeah, the chained down man made of kind of these twisted metal with the flaming pipes around it. It's a very lovely thing. I mean, you know, you can't help but half suspect they only put this in the game so they could put it in the trailer. And indeed it was in the trailer for the pit and it looked very cool and dramatic. But, never mind, it's very cool anyway. Let's head inside, shall we? The lower floors of Haven can be looted, though if I recall correctly, there's nothing like spectacular in here, to be honest. I'll have a quick look around and kind of flag anything of particular interest, but honestly, I think it's just fairly generic junk. And this being Fallout 3 rather than Fallout 4, generic junk doesn't really have much of a purpose. No, there's basically nothing here. As far as I can tell, the only reason the upper area exists is to put raiders up there to kind of try and discourage you from starting a fight too early. Or, if you do decide to fight the establishment, making it as hard as possible to fight your way in or out. Because indeed, they do make it quite difficult. And here we've got Asher.
I'll be with you right after I maintain some order and dispense a little justice. And I suppose you'll follow that up by raising the dead. No, but I may heal the infirm later in the week. Time permitting, of course.
Sir, we've had sightings of Werner back in the city, and there's been an increase in chatter between slaves.
Workers.
What?
We call them workers. Helps with morale. Reminds them that they might earn their freedom someday.
Whatever we call them, they've been gathering makeshift weapons.
All right. Put your guards on alert. Tell them to be on the lookout for anyone loitering too long downtown. And keep a watch on Medea at all times. Anything big happens, it's bound to go through her. Now, I've got a very important meeting with our new friend. So if anything big comes up, you use the intercom.
Yes, sir.
Okay, break's over. Nice work in the hole, New Blood. Knew you couldn't be one of our normal workers. So that begs the question, who are you? And what are you doing in my city?
To be honest, I'm primarily here just to kind of prove that I can complete this entire game without ever actually healing in permadeath rules. Basically, I'm just a masochist. And of course, we're not going to say anything about killing him. Instead, it is a little bit complicated. Let's just say I'm interested in all opportunities for work.
I understand. We've all got a past. And damn few of us have reason to be proud of it. That's all behind you now. In the pit, you'll be part of a growing army, a thriving industry, and maybe even witness to a cure for radiation. But we aren't perfect, and sometimes the past comes back to haunt us. Tell me, do you know a man named Werner?
Indeed, and we can just say that he's the one who brought him here, or we can just say, you know what, met the man, seemed like trouble, so I steered clear, which is, well, it's kind of a lie. I mean, I did meet the man, but then he brought me here, but then, since then I've had no contact with him, so speech 100%, sure, let's take the XP.
Then you know he's not to be trusted. He escaped after a failed coup, and I believe he's working with the slaves to plan a revolt. You know the slaves, and you've met Werner. So you're in a prime position to put an end to him. Do that, and I'll make you a lieutenant in my army.
Seems like a good deal. Because, of course, at this point, you genuinely have a choice. You can either side with the slaves and bring down Asher and steal the cure for the slaves. Now, if you do that, obviously you're taking on the establishment. Your allies are slaves. Bad armor, not particularly great weapons, and you're going to have to fight your way through waves after waves of his enemies who have the high ground, who have guns, who have much better armor than the slaves do. And in addition, in order to actually bring down his reign entirely, you're going to have to do some trickery involving powering down the city so the trogs swarm in and something. It's all very complicated. Or you can just say, the establishment's got the armor and the guns and the high ground and generally all the power. I'm just going to sell out to them. And it's much easier because siding with the establishment ought to be much easier. It makes perfect bloody sense. And I'm in no position to take any sort of risks, so yep, we're siding with Asher. Sounds like a good deal.
That's what I wanted to hear. You've got a bright future ahead of you in the pit, New Blood. In fact, I'd like to let you in on a little secret and show you the amazing advance that'll secure our place in the Wasteland. Now, I think would be a good time for you to meet the cure for yourself. Let's take a trip back to the lab where Sandra can explain.
Lord Asher,
Don't let
the
me
slaves
keep
are
you.
rioting, and someone's armed.
Don't let me.
We need you out here, and fast.
Don't. Damn it, I'm on my way.
And indeed, there is trouble downstairs, and we can go over that way to find the cure that we were originally sent to steal. Though first, of course, we can go around the other way and find, I think this is Asher's bedroom around here, and I believe there's a safe or something. Yeah, okay, so there's a few things we can just kind of help ourselves to around here. So just some clothing, wardrobe, a turret control system. Nice and hard locked, fine. I'll turn that on. I don't actually want to do anything with it, but I want the XP. So we're in, got 50 XP. Now I don't want to unlock the safe. The last thing I want to do is unlock the safe. I'd like to unlock the safe myself. And indeed, that gives you 2 stealth boys, which could be very, very useful, especially if you don't have Chinese stealth armor. His 2 stealth boys, allowing you to sneak past all the trouble that's about to erupt, could be very, very useful. And basically, there's a whole bunch of diaries that you could take here. Pretty much the diaries just fill you in on some plot points we're about to get to anyway, so no need to have those just this second, but I'll paraphrase them in a sec. So, having kind of, you know, robbed his safe and broken his computer, but not having turned on his turret, which, by the way, can just kind of help you out a little bit, let's go through and meet the cure. And of course, as most of you already know, the cure is, in fact, this here baby, Marie, a baby whose bloodstream happens to be somehow miraculous. And I'll get to that. No, I can't take that. For some reason, I can take all this stuff, but I'm not allowed to take anything out to the first aid. Oh, hang on. Is that a... Yeah. You're not going to let me take the Med-X, but you're allowed to let me take all the other stuff. That's kind of unusual. Normally, like, it's either take everything or take nothing. I'm allowed to take her coffee mug. And, not her clipboard, though. That doesn't even exist. But I could take her hot plate. Good old hot plate. But yes, let's have a chat with you.
Oh, Asher told me you might be coming here, but I'm afraid I was preoccupied. Little Marie here is an angel, but she can still be a handful. I'm Sandra. Asher sent me up here to work on the Pitt's medical research, and Marie here is our daughter. Our little miracle, really.
And some sort of cure, he mentioned.
Oh, I hate it when he calls her that. I swear, it's a terrible thing to call his own daughter.
Thanks to my high science. Wait, you mean she has a natural and transferable immunity of some sort?
Well, this is a nice surprise. Apparently you and Asher are the only other people who know anything about science in this place. Yes, it seems that our daughter was born with a naturally acquired immunity to any form of mutation. It's nothing short of a miracle, honestly. I'm still trying to figure out why, but she may just hold the key to stopping the Pitt's Trog problem. Hell, maybe other types of mutations too.
So, and are you worried about hurting her by any chance?
Oh no, these tests are perfectly safe. In fact, between the crib and her uncanny health, she's probably the safest child in the world. Asher and I would never risk her health. And if that means it takes longer to develop a full cure, then, well, everyone else can wait.
And indeed, is there anything else I can do to help by any chance?
You're a dear, but things are well in hand here. If you really want to help, you should probably go deal with whatever had Asher rushing off in such a hurry. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got to take care of one last test before Marie's nap time.
I believe you come back to her later in the game. There's a repeatable quest where you can bring teddy bears for some XP and caps, if I recall correctly. This is what I love about the Pit, and what I think a lot of people love about the Pit. How there's no real moral right and wrong here, which is, it's clear that, like, they're taking really good care of Marie, and they will probably, they're probably, in terms of, like, science, they're the ones who are best placed to actually develop the cure. Probably the fastest because of their technical know-how, but they're running the test very slowly because they don't want to harm her, so that's going to slow them down. You could steal the baby and give it to Werner, who basically doesn't care about the baby, and it's implied if you go down that route, he will happily, like, do things that are harmful to her in order to get the cure faster. But, you know, do I believe Werner's scientific knowledge and expertise is as useful or powerful as Sandra's? No, not necessarily, if only because Sandra has, well, as much experience for as long as Marie's been alive, working with her already, so she's got a bit of a head start. So, yeah, there's really there's no right or wrong here. I mean, you could argue the fact that she's going to use Marie to cure the Trog problem is a bit of a kind of a false positive thing, because the Trog problem only exists because flipping Asher and Sandra have set up here in the Pit and forced slaves to come here and work and turn into Trogs. If they just, you know, moved away or turned their attention off industry and into cleaning up the Pit, that would solve the Trog problem potentially a lot more easily. Though I guess, like, the benefit of solving radiation problems in the wider Wasteland is maybe more useful, because then, you know, other forms of even, you know, medical things like cancers as well as super mutants could be taken care of and cured. We know in Fallout 4 there can be a cure to super mutants, but equally, we never hear from Sandra again, so who knows. Actually, it would have been nice if Sandra was in Fallout 4, if Sandra had somehow made her way to the Institute and had actually been involved with Virgil's team in some capacity. That would actually have been a nice touch, but as far as I'm aware, there's no indication of that whatsoever. But yes, go over to the baby, activate Marie's crib. Baby Marie is napping peacefully in her crib, safely connected to various medical monitors, and wrapped in protective swaddling. It looks like moving her would not go over well with her family, so leave Marie asleep in her crib. Now, let's put one thing to bed here, and that's not just a pun because there's a baby in a crib right there, which is a comment I still get on the Fallout 3 Kill Everything run for the Pit is, John, why didn't you eat the baby? If you've taken the cannibal perk, you can eat the baby. No, you can't. That is a mod, okay? In the base game, even if you've taken cannibal, no matter what you've done, you cannot eat the baby. Alright? Look it up in the Fallout wiki. Try it for yourself. You cannot eat the baby in Fallout 3. There is a well-known and commonly used mod that lets you do it, but it is not part of the base game. Anyway, let's go, shall we? Because we are definitely going to leave the baby there. And as Sandra suggests, go and help out Asher. Now, the moment we step outside, the distraction that Medea mentioned will have begun, which is basically a bit of a slave uprising. Slaves will be running in with steel swords, but they'll all be in basic slave gear and they'll all have steel swords or auto axes, which makes them incredibly easy to kill. They will go hostile to me, but obviously, for the most part, I might well be able to sneak past them. If they do see me, I will shoot them with the metal blaster. In fact, because this is a very powerful shotgun, this actually works quite nicely against enemies who are not that fast, but are actually planning to charge me. So, I'm going to go through here and begin. Another thing I'm going to recommend for the pit is, especially during this bit, during the slave uprising, save constantly. Because I think this is, in my experience, like the least stable area in all of Fallout 3. It crashes all the time. So I'm going to be dropping saves, like, before every single load zone in this bit. So out we are, and you can see there in the distance that the fight has begun. Best thing I can do is basically stay out of the way. The slaves will be utterly destroyed. They don't really stand a chance, to be honest. Who's even left? I don't dare firing because I don't want to accidentally hit good old O-Dog. O-Dog might theoretically go down, but I find it unlikely. If O-Dog does go down, then, yep, there we go. We've killed one of them. Lovely. And then a pit slave there. Sure, why not? Then just careful. There we go. And dead. Beautiful. So at this point, we've been helping out a lot. There's going to be more slaves running in. Yeah, there's a pit slave over there. I think I just killed one of those. Yeah, I've killed at least one of them, but don't need to worry about that. Got to be a little careful, though. Like, I'm probably going to just avoid taking... Like, oh, do not... Bloody hell. Watch out, mainly for flipping friendly fire. Mainly for friendly fire. How many have we got over there? They're taking care of this. Like, you can see how much of an advantage Asher has over the pit slaves. It's ridiculous how much of an advantage they have. There's, like, more will spawn in, by the way. More will just spawn in. I'm just going to take, like, the fastest, easiest route. That's probably to go... I want to go along the ground route. Yeah, I'll probably want to go along the ground route, to be honest. There's a pit slave over there. I just want to stay out of trouble for the most part, because you have so many allies in this particular fight on account of the fact that, yeah, you're now siding with the blokes with the high ground and the guns. And in general, the person with the high ground and the guns is going to be the person that wins. There's a pit slave over there. And then, there we go, one person dead. Well, that's a pit raider. That's another pit raider. They're doing fine. There's at least one more person that needs to go down over there. You are a... I don't want to fight over there. Pit slave. Yep, already dead. Fine. So just move around. Be aware, yep, enemies will spawn in as you go along, but as I'm now, yep, covered by the cloak, shouldn't be a problem, to be honest. My first objective now is to go to Medea and get the information out of Medea that lets me find out where Werner is, because Werner needs to be taken care of. That's kind of like the final thing that needs to be done as part of this DLC. So far, pretty simple. Play this bit cautious, and it should be incredibly easy if you're siding with Werner. Now we've got... Aha, there we go. So we've now got more kind of slaves coming in. As I say, more people are just kind of coming in, but they're not seeing me, so everything's fine. I really don't need to worry about these guys too much at all. I need to go upstairs because I can kind of cut through a nice, easy way to get back to Medea without going through the factory floor, which is convenient. There are... Ooh, are you all pit slaves? And then we've got... Yeah, you're all pit slaves, aren't you? So three against one is going to cause trouble, unless, of course, I decide to help out, which I've just done a little bit there. And then... Oh, look, they're so outnumbered, though. It's ridiculous how outnumbered they are at this point. Is there one pit slave through here? Yes, there is indeed one pit slave through here. And then... Oh... You get so many shots in VATS, by the way. The VATS requirement for Metal Blaster is pretty bloody low. Oh, I've lost karma, so the game says. What? For killing a slave? Maybe they shouldn't have rebelled against their masters. Huh? No slave has a gun. They've all got the auto-axes. Now, the auto-axes are powerful, but slaves, unlike, say, the more dangerous melee enemies, don't actually... Oh, you poor slaver. You poor slaver. Oh, I got some new Psycho as well. Lovely. Ooh, Supervisor helmets. Lardy flipping dar. No slaves are even actually allowed guns. I think they are allowed to pick them up if they come across them, but for the most part, the slaves will be utterly... I mean, you can see how much green there is on the map there. The slaves even when there's like 3 of them that are spawned on top, the slavers win incredibly easily. It's so much easier to just side with the status quo, which makes sense. It's like they're trying to teach the people playing this game a life lesson. Life's just easier if you go with the status quo. Rebelling against the status quo and trying to bring down the establishment, that's harder. That should be harder. That's always harder. There's a nice bar right up top here. You may recall in a previous part, we actually saw a slaver who was down in that alleyway down there, which is down in downtown. I like to think obviously he was doing drugs in this upstairs bar and then just fell to his death, which would make perfect sense. Let's just quickly do some looting. So yeah, you've got a nice rooftop bar here, which is lovely. Can I actually buy and sell from you at all? You are Harris. Can I talk to you?
Look at this.
So yeah, right in the middle of this rebellion, we can just go up to the rooftop bar and buy and sell some stuff with this guy. Lovely. I think he actually might be... There's very few shops. This might be the only shop in the pit, actually. I can't think of another one off the top of my head. For the most part there, I've just traded away most of my stim packs in order to get just all the psycho and med-X that he was holding, just to make sure I've got some of that. Lovely. So yeah, you got a nice little rooftop bar here, including a lovely little area where people can play pool. Very nice. Always lovely. So by now, the rebellion should have been completely stamped. I mean, it wasn't really a rebellion. Medea made it perfectly clear that what she was doing was setting up a little kind of... yeah, just a distraction. Just a distraction for you. Ooh, is that a safe I can open too? Oh, the safe is already open. That's so disappointing. So once we're done with that, just head on down. Obviously, be a little bit careful. Some of these things don't have proper guardrails on them. So you need to be a little bit on the careful side. You basically just wander wherever you want, but in the end you're going to be wanting to head to the inside here because there's a staircase that leads down. But yeah, you can kind of get to all the upper bits that you saw previously now if you kind of want to just go and explore those. For the most part, there's not much up there, so there's kind of not a huge amount of point. So open the gate here. You about to trigger any more? Nope, no more slaves appear to have popped up, and if they do, I feel like they're going to be torn apart very quickly. Let's pop in and see Medea, see what we can find out about Werner. Would you believe she's not best impressed with the fact that you have immediately, the moment you got your freedom, sold out to Asher, but never mind.
So, I suppose you signed on with Asher and his kind, did you? Huh, you're not the first to win their freedom and forget where they came from.
What do you mean forget where I came from? I didn't come from being a slave. I snuck in here and pretended to be a slave because Werner sort of tricked me into doing so. And by the way, didn't tell me the whole story at all. Now, I joined the winning side. Shut your mouth, slave. No, that's harsh. I'm not going to steal a baby. Well, actually, I'm perfectly happy to steal a baby if it were morally justifiable to do so. But I think both sides can make a good case for the fact that they are, in fact, the better side for the longer-term benefit of humanity.
No, we expected you to steal the one thing that was both a cure for our children and a hostage to earn our freedom. But congratulations, your petty sentimentality has doomed us to continued slavery and pestilence. Thanks.
Look, just flipping tell me where Werner is, alright? 82% chance. Blimey, I've got a pretty high charisma and speech. That is... Oh, unless, of course, maybe... I might have lost some karma, and I might be into negative karma. I might have just lost impartial mediation, but let's go for it.
Fine. If it'll get you out of the way, go check under the blast furnace in the steel yard. Look for a rooftop door in the southwest. It's got a blue light, you can't miss it. But Werner will put you in your place.
And there we are. We now know where Werner is located. But your ride isn't going to change anything except getting the slaves killed.
They'd rather die for freedom than die working for the raiders.
Well, that's a fairly reasonable position to take. Yes, never mind. So, one more thing to go and do in that case. We need to head over to Werner, who's hiding the far side of the steward. Ah, do you have any opinions on the fact that I've sold you out, by the way? Nope, you have nothing to say, Millie. Never mind. Another slave has been killed there. Yeah, the slaves are just screwed. They just don't stand a chance. Any of the slaves that are still here, you're a pit raider anyway. I think most of the slaves are already dead, or they're not even rebelling. There might be some more around here. No, that's... Oh, no, it was a slave I killed. No, sorry, that was the one I killed. Never mind. Sorry, my mistake. And then, yes, through here. Oh, Has Fallout 3 done the thing? Yes. Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas both did this thing, which is if you kill someone and then leave their body there, the body often stays longer than the game remembers what they were supposed to be wearing. So I guess it must be to save memory or something. What you'll often find is you'll come back to a body and you'll find that all of a sudden it just doesn't have its clothing on anymore. Even though you didn't take the clothing, all of a sudden it's in its basic clothing of this is nudity, covering up the nudity, the undershirt kind of clothing's there. So, we need to cut through the factory because that's the only way to get to the steelyard. There will be more slaves fighting in the factory, so let's be careful about that. And there's also going to be less in the way of, less in the way of people to help me out here. But we'll just help out a little bit if we can. And then I think are you all pit slaves? Pit slave? Pit slave. Yeah, pit slave! Pit slave! Pit slave! Just randomly fire! Randomly fire! There we are. You're totally a pit slave. As are you. There we go. Oh, this gun. This gun is amazing. Look at that. That's just amazing. Just tears through everything. The metal blaster is an amazing weapon. I don't know if it's the most powerful shotgun in the game. It feels pretty close to it if it's not. I love it. It's a brilliant laser shotgun. Just tore through people. You decided not to rebel. Good bloody choice, my good man. Good bloody choice. You had some mentats on you. Just the slaves are so bad. I mean, I love it. I love it, because like a lesser game would have just said, you know what? If you've joined the slaves, then Ash's troops are super badass and terrifying. But if you join Asher, then all of a sudden the slaves will be super badass and terrifying. But no, this game takes the realistic approach, which is side with the establishment, and you're pretty much on easy street. Now, you're a pit slave, but you're not in any way, are you dangerous? No, you're not dangerous. You've decided not to join the rebellion. Well, flipping done. Not that way. I'll just make sure I don't get ambushed from behind by swinging around the corner here and making sure there's no one left. But I think I've dealt with everyone already. Yeah, Hammer. Oh, Hammer was injured there. So Hammer's already taken out at least one pit slave. The factory floor is definitely clear. We are safe to head in our way. Just as long as Everett's fine. That's the important thing. Because I don't actually think Everett... I assume Everett is essential. So that, you know, you can't lose the guy who can give you the special stuff. Because he gives you some really cool stuff. Like a copy of Ash's power armor if you get all 100. And a unique version of that gun that Gruber had, the Infiltrator. I think it's called the Perforator. That's 90. There's the most powerful variant of the Auto Axe, which is called the Mauler. I think that's 80, and I can't remember what's at 70. I may be misremembering some of that. Anyway, the abandoned area. And people were also telling me, by the way, I apologise, the last two parts were recorded back to back, that if I were to have actually properly explored, yes, if I'd properly explored this area, there were 3 ingots right here the whole time. So I probably, actually, even if I'd got those 3 ingots, I still would have probably needed to have gone into the factory. So it probably wouldn't have changed anything. But yes, 3 ingots right there in a very sensible place. I do apologise. That was silly of me. Because I even explored that area. I just didn't jump high enough to happen to see those ingots. I just thought there was nothing in there. So never mind. Nothing in here out into the steelyard. I believe there are no slaves out in the steelyard. And the steelyard should still be pretty darn safe. I mean, it was pretty safe before, because obviously the robots are still on patrol, and I've dealt with most of the trolls. This is the advantage of having already done 50 ingots. The way up to where I need to go to get to Werner should already have been cleared out. So basically, I've already done something I would have needed to do later along this route. But there is still a slight concern, which is I don't know if maybe there could be some new slaves. I mean, I don't see any sign of anything so far. It all looks pretty bloody quiet and peaceful. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember any slaves spawning in this area. Obviously, I've got... And actually, if there were slaves spawning in this area, would the Protectrons fire on them or not? Because I don't know... Like, Protectrons, for example, just about everything, for example, fires on Raiders or Trogs. Because Raiders and Trogs are, by default, hostile to, like, literally everything. Which is why they're kind of why everything will fire on them and they'll fire on everything. It doesn't matter. But I don't know if Pit slaves will be fundamentally hostile to Protectrons or Protectrons to Pit slaves, so they might just not fire on each other. Anyway, we're heading up, but obviously I'm much safer than I was previously, because now I've got the Stealth Armor. Stealth Armor and Silent running together means even on the off chance a Pit slave does show up, unless I actually bump into him and I've got a big open area to work around at the moment, it should be absolutely fine. So we should be okay. Should be fine. Just make our way to the back here, to the... There's still red there. What's that red? That red could be... I don't know. Probably a wild man up top. Probably nothing to be worried about. Oh, no, it was something. It's one pit slave. Is it just the one? Or is there... I can only see one here. Yeah, we got ourselves one pit slave guarding his door. Not anymore, we don't. Lovely, nice, easy. 37 experience, quite good. Oh, yeah, I need to check on this. The karma situation. Oh, yes, I'm down to very evil. I'm very evil. Apparently, murdering slaves is bad. Me. Yeah, okay, that'll be why it was only 82% chance. Because as a result of that, my skills, my speech has now dropped significantly down to 73. Why is it at 73? Why is everything boosted at the moment? Oh, yes, of course. Sorry, I completely forgot. Of course, 3 dogs, head wrap, +1 luck. +1 luck is boosting everything, that's why. So I need to basically go and sort out my, I need to sort out my karma later. But for now, we've got Werner to take care of. Now, Werner, you'd might think would be the final boss. But actually, luckily, thanks to this character build, we should be fine.
Ah, you finally made it. I've got everything ready, and there are plenty of tests to run, so hurry up and put the... Wait, where's the cure? Did you lose it? Where is that little bastard?
And indeed, your plans are over, Werner. Asher knows everything.
And you just went along with him, did you? To hell with everyone else but you, huh? Here, I thought that you, of all people, would understand that sometimes you have to get your hands dirty to make a difference. But you're just a coward, afraid of making a choice, afraid of changing the world.
And fortunately, with Black Widow is so ridiculous. Like, I don't know why they balanced this game the way they did, but across both Fallout 3 and New Vegas, the unique speech options that become available to you through Black Widow are just vastly superior than any of the other sex-related perks. It's just crazy how much better Black Widow is. So Werner, how about saving us both a lot of trouble and leaving quietly?
Oh, I see how it is. You signed on with Asher, and now you're gonna stand by your man. Maybe trying to catch his eye and be his queen? Well, good luck with that, starfucker. I'm sure the two of you will kill each other eventually, even without my help. You, him, and this whole town can burn for all I care. I'm gone.
And indeed, he walks out without a fight. Werner has basically completely given up. And now we can just loot his place. I can't remember if there's anything good here. Yeah, there's a few kind of interesting little bits here. Some Radaway, for example, good for selling. So I'm just kind of... I've been playing too much Fallout 4. I take one look at a medical dressing. Oh my god, surgical tray. Precious, precious aluminium. And indeed, what we have down there as well is the power plant key, which we could take if we really wanted to, but there's no reason to go into the power plant. That's not something that I need to do. So that's Werner taken care of, and as you can see, as a result, we've basically managed to resolve the entire situation, mostly without violence, aside from shooting down a few slaves, but even then, I didn't really need to do that. I could have got away without doing that and just sneaking past them really easily. In fact, I wouldn't have even need to sneak past them. Even without the Chinese stealth armor, I could have just left it to the slavers. They would have been able to take care of the slaves incredibly easily, but still, let's now head on our way. I also repeat my advice to always flipping save constantly in this area, because as I was half expecting to happen at some point, the game did indeed crash as I was leaving Werner's hideout and entering the steelyard. Luckily, I had dropped a save just before entering Werner's hideout because I knew... Ooh. I like that, by the way. Look at the fire. The fire through the invisible shotgun. That's very, very cool. But yes, the game did indeed crash as I was leaving. And I've also experienced multiple crashes in Uptown at the very end of this DLC. For some reason, just in my experience, this is like when the game gets its most unstable. So, like, I don't think there's a worse bit for stability in the entirety of Fallout 3. So just be flipping careful. Save constantly. It's also particularly annoying here because the DLC is basically over. And yet at that exact moment, that's when the game starts throwing crashes at you. And proper full-on crashes. Like, you know, the autosave cannot be loaded. It is corrupt style crashes. So, manually save constantly. Oh, Fallout 4 with its kind of, yeah, the fact that you can set how regularly it quietly autosaves in the background. That's so good. That's so much better than Fallout 3's system where if you just forget and you rely on the autosave, oh, the autosave just loves corrupting itself, doesn't it? It's its favourite thing. Oh, Marco! Oh, poor old Marco. Well, it makes sense that Marco died. He, in all fairness, was one of the leaders for putting weapons in the hands of the slaves, so it would make sense that he died. Alright, back out to Uptown. Ah, it would also appear as I approach Haven itself that looking at this ash pile, I did indeed hit and kill one of the pit raiders, so Luckily, they decided not to turn on me. Blimey, that could have gone very, very wrong indeed. Because, yeah, I hit a raider and killed him when he had a missile launcher on him. If everyone had turned on me because of that, that could have gone very, very badly wrong. Blimey, I think I was a bit lucky there. And here we are back at Asher's office, checking in with our brand new boss. The rebellion has been put down. Werner has fled. Medea is still alive. In fact, everyone's alive.
I knew I could trust you, and I wasn't disappointed. Werner's been stopped. The workers are returning to their rightful place. The Pit has a bright future ahead of it, and so do you.
And what exactly do you have planned for the city's future, Asher?
Now that Marie's back, we have a chance at curing the disease that's been ravaging the Pit since the bombs. Without it killing our kids, we can grow like a real city. No more bringing in slaves. No more forced labor. Things can get better. It's taken me a lot of work to rebuild this city. With your help, it's finally going to have a chance.
You've got to say, that's a relatively decent pitch. The fact that he's going to say he's going to phase... I mean, whether he can be trusted to phase out slavery, who knows? It's one of those things which, I don't know, maybe it's a little bit too convenient and easy and simple, but maybe. Well, I'm not entirely comfortable with it, but probably on balance, on reflection, it's probably the best thing in the long run. And what do I get for doing all this, Asher?
You've kept the city in one piece and put a stop to Werner's plans. Yeah, I guess you've earned one. As a full citizen of the Pit, you'll have full access to the ammo press in the mill. It's how I keep my soldiers well armed. So make good use of it. And I think Sandra's made some progress with the cure. So here's a little something to help with radiation.
And indeed, medical research from the Pit has improved your life. Just try not to think about what it may have cost others. And what exactly do I do now?
That's up to you. We'll keep working on the cure and keep the city running. You're free to come and go as you like. Of course, you can help out at the mill by collecting metal from the steel yard. It helped lighten the load on the workers. And if you want to work on Sandra's good side, you can always bring her toys for Marie. It's a little thing, but it'd make a difference.
Ah yes, and there's that repeatable quest I mentioned. 150 XP, free labor is completed. And do you ever miss the Brotherhood of Steel?
Not in the slightest. During the Scourge, we looted the Pit and left the rest of it to rot. I was just a dumb convert who got stuck here afterwards. See, beneath it all, the Brotherhood's just lazy. It's easier to loot a dying city than to work to bring it back to life. So that's what they did. They're so obsessed with the technology of the past, they don't care what needs to be done for today and tomorrow. It takes real hard work to rebuild and run a city. But there isn't a machine to do it for them, so the Brotherhood isn't interested. Good riddance.
That's quite a brutal put down of the Brotherhood, and it's not entirely unfair either. Indeed, with that, we are done. Only 150 XP for completing free labor and finishing off the Pit. As I've said before, Fallout 3 is expecting you to get most of your XP for killing, not for doing quests, which is why killing like 4 or 5 slaves, actually yeah, 5 slaves is worth significantly more than actually completing free labor and finishing off the Pit and so forth. It's kind of ridiculous actually. So yeah, we're done. We're now just free to leave. Beautiful. So as we say goodbye to the Pit for the last time, I would at least like to do one last thing, which is actually head out on foot and just catch up with good old Max, because we can now go out to this gate again.
Not interested. Scram.
Nope, he's just not interested in speaking to me at all. Well, in that case, we can just head on our way. With nothing else to do here, we may as well head back to the capital Wasteland, just head back to the handcart, and let's get back to DC. And with a blinding flash of light, we are back in a much more familiar environment. The colour scheme and the look of the capital Wasteland. We are back. Oh, it's good to be home. After a trip to DLC, it's always nice to be home. You know what? You know, it'd be even nicer than this. And that would be the lovely, warm oranges and browns of Megaton. Oh, Oh, it's good to be home. It's lovely to be home in good old Megaton. And I also saw a very odd thing pop up for a second there, which is, if I remember correctly, the Vault 101 emergency frequency is up, which it shouldn't be. I was pretty sure that dropped out of existence, but is it there?
I changed the door password to my name. If you're hearing this, and if you still care enough to help me, you should remember it.
Wow, that's actually... I genuinely thought Vault 101, if you waited too long, that quest dropped out of the game, and I thought I'd have waited way too long to do Trouble on the Home Front, but okay, it seems like we've got a few little bits and pieces to do next week. I'd certainly like to level up at least one more time, so we will definitely do that next week. Though, there's one thing I'm going to do right now, because otherwise I'm going to bloody forget. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. What happened was I was brought to a new land far away in order to save them from slavery. But you see, what happened instead was I decided to join up with the slavers and put down the slave revolt. And then I murdered a lot of slaves with a laser shotgun. So now they're all dead and the slavers are still in firm control of the territory. So, how much am I going to need to pay to wipe that one out? That cost me 900 bloody caps to sort out. Bloody hell. That's like the price of like 4 or 5 slaves, assuming I hadn't just murdered them. Bloody hell. Gouging me. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, with my karma back to neutral and thus impartial mediation back to being up and active, I'm going to call it a part here. Next week, well, it seems that we've got a few little bits and pieces to take care of dotted around the Wasteland. Obviously, we've got the rest of Broken Steel to do yet, but there's a few other quests I'd like to look at, because I'm increasingly looking at this thinking, actually, it might be fun to do as much as possible, and I'd certainly like to level up one more time, ideally, before we hit the real meat of Broken Steel. So a couple of quests for me to look at, dotted around the capital Wasteland yet, and we shall certainly get to those next week. But in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, we are good. We have actually made it back to the capital Wasteland. We have survived the pit, and back up to 83 out of 550 of the true health counter, though with one small problem, which is, now that I've used my get out of jail free card, my endurance of 10+1 via bobblehead, on minor radiation poisoning, that means at this point I'm kind of scared about using Med-X or Psycho anymore. Because if I use Med-X or Psycho and get addicted, then that addiction is -1 endurance, and obviously then that is true -1 endurance, and that would be -20 hit points. So I'm kind of locked from using drugs at this point because I would take 20 hit points if I did. So I've just lost one thing I can use, but the bare minimum, at least the pit has been completed. And sure, I've had minor radiation poisoning, but I'm not actually suffering from it thanks to the way that I've laid out my character. So, more next week, ladies and gentlemen. But in the meantime, I've been John. This has been Many a True Nerd. And this has been the end of the pit. Just one more DLC to go, ladies and gentlemen. Just Broken Steel itself. We're so close. I swear we can do this, but it's not going to be easy. Thank you very much, and goodbye. Just got to weaken the base of this a little bit more. Yes! Yes! Good news, I'm protecting you! Alex Mason, the man who can literally run as fast as a speeding truck. This game is basically just badasses don't look at explosions the game, isn't it? Oh!